This is the talk show that takes a no-holds-barred approach to politics, where truth and integrity are the standard and the Constitution honored. From Renaissance Studios, this is Champion News Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to another great edition of Champion News Talk Radio. We are your choice for the conservative voice. This is Carol Parisi. Today our founder, Jack Roser, and myself have the servant leader of the House Republicans, I believe, here in Illinois, Representative Tom Morrison. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Well, this is one, we've got a guy that's very appropriate for the job to be a legislator in Illinois, because you used to own a business that fixed up places that had a disaster, like a tornado or a fire.
Right.
You were in the business of repairing disasters. You were the man we need.
Yeah.
Disaster restoration, how befitting for our state of Illinois, the state of our state. Tom, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Tom, we have a lot to discuss today. And the pressing issue of pensions, we have marriage and guns. Where do you want to start off to have our listeners hear what's going on in Springfield from your perspective?
Well, we finished May 31st without having resolved a whole lot of these big issues. But there were some achievements. We were able to pass a bill that would enable hydraulic fracturing in the state.
What specifically is hydraulic fracturing?
Well, that was, or what it is, it's a method for extracting oil and gas, natural gas, out of shale rock. And I'm not a geologist, I'm not an expert in this, but from what I understand, Illinois is rich in coal and also shale rock. Previously, that shale was inaccessible. We didn't have the technology to actually extract gas from it. Well, thanks to the American free enterprise system.
A guy down in Texas on his own developed this crazy process, stole a march on everybody, got himself rich. And they said, what is he doing?
And he got himself rich in providing a necessary commodity for everybody. So it benefits...
American ingenuity.
That's right. It benefits everybody. So the natural gas prices are actually very, very low, relatively speaking. And it's because of the technology of fracking or fracturing.
Previously, they were talking about, in the past years, they were talking about mining all of this shale and getting it up above and then cooking it to get the oil out of it. So he found a shortcut.
Yeah.
So there's natural gas and then there's actual gasoline for our vehicles?
No, not gasoline.
Okay,
natural gas and the potential to get oil from this shale rock.
In some places they get actual oil out of it that comes up along with the gas.
Right.
And so forth. They get a mixture.
So that was actually an achievement we had this past spring.
Will we notice our prices to continue to go down then because of the resources being more abundant?
Well, Illinois is not in play yet. I mean, part of the reason drillers have avoided Illinois is because there was that big question mark on how much they'd be regulated or how much they'd be taxed. And so what we saw was the upstate and downstate groups coming together, Republicans, Democrats coming together, and even some of the environmental groups were able to sign on to this bill. Now, they got a lot of regulations in. We're still going to be more regulated in Illinois than some of our surrounding states. But there's enough potential here in Illinois that companies are chomping at the bit to actually start leasing land to start drilling and start extracting this. And that was something that we actually achieved this past spring. So
will that help us with job creation?
There's another angle.
Absolutely. Illinois would benefit greatly, tens of thousands of jobs potentially, particularly in southern Illinois, from this. I mean, North Dakota, everyone talks about what's the good things that are happening in North Dakota. They have the country's lowest unemployment rate. It's because for 10 years, they've been using this new technology to extract oil and natural gas. And there's, I mean, I've heard stories that they're paying McDonald's employees $18, $20 an hour because competition for jobs and employees are such that, I mean, there are truck drivers, there are welders and what have you that are making $80,000, $100,000 out in the oil fields in North Dakota. So it's about time that Illinois start to develop the resources that we have right under our own feet.
Wow.
And not only North Dakota, in Colorado, there is enough oil shale to run America completely for 40 years. And this hasn't been tapped into because there's a lot of environmental groups that have been putting lawsuits in and stopping it. North Dakota is one of the most fiscally sound states in our union, and it's because they found a new technique for
They're smarter
discovering
up there.
natural gas.
Typically, every year they spend the least on education and turn out the best students. But there's another factor for Illinois is this, that they've been closing the coal-fired plants all over the country, making electricity, and that's becoming a lost market for the coal mines of southern Illinois. And
we're still exporting. I mean, Illinois is still exporting a lot of that coal, but they're exporting it overseas. But still, this would be a huge improvement in our economy statewide. I mean, remember, a lot of the commodity that comes out of the ground will be taxed. And so part of our budget problems would be helped.
It sounds like a win-win-win. You got jobs, and people that have jobs will pay income taxes. There's business, and
That's
there's
right.
business taxes.
And reinvestment in Illinois. So that's one good thing. And then the other thing that was an achievement, I think, this spring was passing a concealed carry law. And now the deadline for Illinois has been extended to July 9. But we did pass with significant margins. We passed a bill out of the House and out of the Senate. The NRA was neutral, I believe, on this bill because there were a lot of restrictions that Second Amendment supporters like me didn't really like.
What are some of those restrictions, Tom?
Well, for example, we still have a very large list of quote-unquote gun-free zones. And to me, that was, it's not wise because when you advertise to criminals that there are no guns in a certain area,
they know where to go.
Yeah, it tells the criminals where they can go and find innocent, defenseless people.
Well, wasn't the shooting in Colorado, who was a concealed carry last year, wasn't that a gun-free zone? That particular theater was in a gun-free zone.
I had heard that particular theater was a gun-free zone, that they had advertised, there's signage out front saying if you have a concealed weapon, you're not allowed in our theater, whereas other theaters in Aurora did not have that prohibition.
And those theaters weren't. Why don't we learn
targeted.
from our mistakes?
Yeah.
This is not an issue that hasn't been ventilated thoroughly worldwide. And you got two great examples in England and in Australia where they effectively took the guns away from everybody. And in England, if somebody is invading your home, just be sure you don't hurt them. Because if you hit them with a ball bat, they're going to get you in court. The result is that about something like 80% of the home invasions are with people in the home in England.
That's frightening.
Similarly, in Australia. In this country, it's below 30%. I mean, criminals know enough they don't want to go in a home where there is an owner present because he's quite likely to have a gun. So it's affected the way the burglaries are done. You're helpless in those countries.
Well, look at Chicago. Look at the city of Chicago.
I could show you the results of the Detective Bureau in the city of Chicago from the 1990s. I've still got two of the analyses of how murders were done. And the papers distort something terribly, because I'll tell you, in 1991, the number of murders in Chicago was almost 1,000. I think it was 961 people killed. Now, we got people killed about 400 lately, and they're saying the excessive murders in Chicago. Well, they're excessively large in certain areas, but not in others. But they ought to stick with the truth. And the other part of the truth is that they've got a list in the detective thing of how all of these people were killed. Now, there's about a third of them are killed with knives and 2/3 almost with guns. But I forget the number, but there's about 80 different ways people got killed. One of them was with pantyhose. Another one, I don't know how you do this, with a toilet. Maybe you drown them. But there's a lot of knives and sticks and all kinds of things that you hit people with. And stomp on them and roll the car over them. There are a zillion ways people get killed. So they got a long ways to go to change their mind and get real about what the rest of the world all knows. And it's really foolish that in Illinois we've got the state that's the most busted financially, and also the most crooked, and also the only one where the people can't have guns to defend themselves.
But we're going to, but there's a whole bunch of things that go with this law, like you have to take classes and everything else.
Yeah, 16 hours of training, which is more than any other state would require. A fee of, I can't remember what it was, I think it was $150 or maybe $250. Our fees and the training is much higher than other states, but it's the best we have for now.
Do you have a printing emergency or just need a fast quality printing for a reasonable price? Go to print911.com.